Hey, it's John McCabe. Welcome to the show. Hey guys, welcome to the John A. McCabe Show. Sorry about the brief technical difficulties in getting started. There was an interruption with the feed and I had to start it all over again. So, hey, welcome to the John A. McCabe Show, where it's all about accelerating your authority in your business or field of expertise by helping entrepreneurs, business owners, authors, experts, speakers get seen, get heard, get noticed on any device, anywhere, anytime in 100 days or less, also known as the Authority Acceleration Program. My guest today is Tahani Aburaneh. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Someone I met in Denver, Colorado years ago as I was attending a marketing seminar for Simple Wealth. Tahani was already in the mastermind group that I ended up joining that weekend, and we quickly became great friends. Now, she's a published author of a book, Real Estate Riches, a money-making game plan for the Canadian investor, that is ranked on Amazon's bestseller list. Now, Tahani also donates 100% of the proceeds of that book to an organization, a charity organization named care.org. Now, Tahani is the founder of the Elite Realtor Training Program, SIAC, which stands for Savvy Investor Agent Certification. And she's also the author of Savvy Investor Agent Guide, where she trains professional real estate agents all across Canada to transform their business and their life. Now, a true heroine, having traversed a path riddled with setbacks, this passionate and focused woman has risen from humble beginnings to overcome the odds and transform her life. Now, Tahani was raised in a refugee camp and faced with a lot of adversity from an early age that would have defeated so many people. Now, despite her circumstances, her entrepreneurial spirit struck when she was very young, and her drive and creativity inspired her to venture into various projects. The sheer strength of Tahani's self-belief enabled her to see continued success when she immigrated to Canada. There she broke gender taboos by emerging as a highly accomplished figure in a traditionally male-dominated industry, becoming the female role model that ambitious women often seek out. As a keynote speaker, Tahani has spoken across North America, igniting the passions of tens of thousands of people with her story and her expertise. She's been featured on many TV shows, radio shows, in magazines, newspapers, and books, channeling the same conquering spirit that led her to her present-day successes. Some of her speaking clients have included the National Bank, Scotiabank, the Real Estate Investment Network, Inspiring Women Event, Canadian Real Estate Wealth Investors Forum, Bigger Pockets Real Estate Investing Summit, eWomen Network, and more. Now, she's shared stages with other prominent people in the real estate, motivational, and entrepreneurial industries. Now, her story should be seen as a true demonstration of how an average individual can successfully achieve above average results and financial independence. Now, Tahani's life is a powerful testimony illustrating how being focused on helping others and living your passion can be rewarding. So be sure to stick around, because when I come right back, I'm going to be joined by my good friend Tahani Aburaneh. Sorry, I even practiced her name many times. Aburaneh.
It's okay, you're doing
Aburaneh.
great.
So just bear with me. I will be back in just a second. Hey, thanks for joining us today. I have a very special guest today, someone I consider to be a true friend. Tahani Aburaneh is an author, land developer, entrepreneur, international speaker, real estate educator, and proud mother of 2 grown children. She's also the founder of Elite Realtor Training Program, SIAC, the Savvy Investor Agent Certification, and author of the Savvy Investor Agent Guide, where she trains professional real estate agents all across Canada to transform their business and their life. So please give it up with a flurry of likes, loves, shares, and thumbs ups and hearts across the screen. So give it up for my beautiful guest right now, Tahani Aburaneh. Hey, Tahani.
Hello, thank you so much for having me on. This is such an honor. Thank you, John.
No worries, Tahani. It's been a long time since we've had a chance to speak. I can't remember the last time.
So true.
It was definitely after the mastermind ended, and so yeah, thanks for being on the show, and sorry for any technical difficulties, and I did get your name right, didn't I, when I pronounced your name?
Yes, you did. Yes, you
Aburaneh.
did. Yes.
Aburaneh. I even practiced it so many times before the show even started.
You got it.
So Tahani, before we really get into the show and we talk about your entrepreneur's journey, what I like to do with a lot of the guests first thing is we do what I call a speed round of questions. So it's really to get the guests to know you a little bit better. I don't know if you've watched the show before. Basically, it's just a series of 10 questions, and whatever comes to your mind the quickest, just blurt it out. You know, if you
Go for it.
a few words or a few sentences. It's nothing that you really need to study for at all, so don't worry. So what I'd like everybody to do is, if you want to play along, that would be great. So when I ask the question, just type your answer into the chat, and let's see how your answers compare to Tahani. So without further ado, Tahani, I'm going to get started. So number one is, name the book that impacted your life the most.
Oh, wow. Actually, I don't know. There's two of them, but I'll say Grow and Think.
Think and Grow Rich?
Yes, and also A Rich Dad, Poor Dad is another one, for
Excellent.
sure.
So when you were a young girl, did you have a celebrity crush? If so, who was it?
No, I did not, because there was no Google, there was no TV, there was nothing. So I did not have any celebrity crushes.
So, where did you grow up?
I grew up in a refugee camp in
What country?
Jordan.
Jordan, okay.
Jordan.
So yeah, there's probably not a lot of TV watching going on in the refugee camp. So
There was no TV. Yeah, there was no TV then. Yes, exactly. No TV, no phones then in that refugee camp. Yeah, so there was no crushes.
So how about, what is the book, the podcast, or the show that you're reading, watching, or listening to that you're into right now, that you're enjoying right now?
I love Tim Ferriss's podcast
Yeah.
a lot. I love, listening to him and his interviews and everything, I just love that. And I also, what other than the podcast, you asked about what else?
A book, podcast, or show. Just had to name one.
I'm reading a book called Ego is the Enemy by also Ryan Hawken. It's really amazing. It's all about ego.
Okay.
And and movies I really don't know. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So do you work with, are you currently working with any coaches?
Currently not. I'm on a little break, but I'm looking into already, a few for next year for sure.
Excellent. So what is your favorite movie of all time?
Lucy. It's called Lucy. I loved that movie. And a lot of people don't like it because they don't. Yes, people don't get the message, but it's so deep and I love the message. So that's my favorite movie ever, ever.
Excellent. So are you currently involved in any masterminds right now?
I am actually just on a little break right now. Yes,
Okay.
like I told you before.
So name the person, either dead or alive, who you would most like to meet and have dinner with.
I'd love to meet and have dinner with Oprah because I feel that Oprah had struggled early on in life, and yet she was able to turn her life like totally, into something that is so inspiring and touching. The impact that she's making is so huge, and I'm inspired by that.
Excellent. So what's your favorite type of vacation, beach or adventure tour?
Of course, it's adventure, not a beach, for sure. I'm the one that I just want to go experience it, get scared, get excited, laugh, and
Nice.
yes.
So what's the best business advice you ever received?
Start with, everyone starts with coaching, like, little league of little kids, and then you move up higher and higher and higher. Don't think that you're going to get to the top right away. So it's a step at a time kind of a thing.
Excellent. So the very last question is a two-part question. So what's your choice? Is it water, beer, or wine? And pizza, wings, or salad? So would you rather drink water, beer, or wine? And would you rather eat pizza, wings, or salad?
100% is going to be the water and the salad. 100%.
You're so healthy, Tahani. You're so healthy.
100%. It's going to be, yes, the salad. And my body actually, craves greens if I don't eat them. and I'm all about water. I don't drink wine or even beer.
Excellent. So, Tahani, I'm just going to get into some questions here. Normally, I talk about ask for a 2 to 3 minute sort of origin story, but this whole show is about your story. So instead of the 2 to 3 minutes, we're going to spend about 45 minutes just talking about your story, your journey. So, can you tell us the story of what your life was like before you came to Canada? So, what was life like back in Jordan before you came to Canada? Can you just sort of fill everybody in?
Yes, of course. Very, very humble beginning, like as humble as it can be, where we hardly had anything, really to account for. And I lived with 6 brothers and a sister, and we lived in a house that, it was like leaking, and the roof had so many holes that would have pots all over the place. And we didn't have really much. It was really difficult then. But what I remember is that despite of all of that, there was a lot of happiness because of the family love, and because of the friends that surround us, and because of, even if we had no food, we still called on people that had less than us. So even though we had not much, I've always felt we had a lot.
Yeah, so in my travels to, I'll call them third world countries for lack of a better term, underdeveloped countries.
Yes.
One thing that I noticed above all else is the people are happy. They have so little, but generally they're a lot happier people than if you just walk down, cities in Canada or the U.S. People sort of seem a lot less happy. There's a lot less socialization going on. There's a lot less sort of connection and sort of that engagement that you see when you're in these other countries who are, people don't realize how, even though they have so little, how good they have it, because they do have that happiness in their life.
John, what that's associated to is that I felt that over here, people constantly want things to make them happy.
That's right.
Where there, they know they can't have those things, so they look for experiences. The littlest thing, like sitting around with a little like drum, and we sit and we dance and we sing, and the littlest thing actually makes us happy. So that's the only difference, is that because we know we're not going to get another Nintendo or iPhone or another computer. It just, none of that. It was actually even an option for us. So that's the difference.
Yeah, exactly. So when did you know you had sort of an entrepreneurial spirit when you were over in Jordan? So what was the situation, or what event sort of turned you into an entrepreneur, even prior to coming to Canada? Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
I love that part, because I remember even as a little girl, I had my brothers. I would get them, actually, I would like say bake cookies, or I would do like, some kind of sweet. And I would say to my brothers, go out to the market and sell it, because as a girl could not go out and sell it. So my brothers would go out and sell it, and then we would take the cost out, and then I would split the profits with my brothers. So my mother did not teach me how to do that. Nobody taught me how to do that, but yet that was the spirit within me to think about these things. And I would remember even sometimes I would think of games, John, and I would perfect them, and I would go teach them to my brothers, and I would say, now you go with this game, and again, teach it or play it outside, and whatever we make profit of, and we would split it. So it was, it's actually, it's within me, and I only realized later on that that's my entrepreneurial spirit that was within me, and I knew how to share it with my brothers, so it was great. I am the oldest, by the way, of all of my brothers and sisters.
So at what age were you, did you start doing that?
I would say 9, maybe 10, like very young, very, very young.
What age were you when you came to Canada?
15.
Okay. So from 9 to 15, were there other entrepreneurial endeavors you were involved in, or was it
I did a lot of things. I would crochet, like, dolls that I would sell to taxi drivers that they put, on top of the, taxi, like on the tabloid there. I would do so many other things. So yeah, I've done quite a bit of things while I was a young girl. Exactly.
And were you guys doing this sort of to help out the family? Was all of this going towards the family good?
For me, very good question, John. For me, it was so that I could actually get the things that my parents could not get for me, because my parents could hardly make it for like food, you know.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to get anything else, I would you know, do all of these, you know, products or like I said, you know, the sweets, and then the profits, I would get stuff that me and my brothers know that our parents could not get us. So it's a way to help.
Okay, so they were providing you the basic necessity of just, you know, the food
Correct.
and the shelter. So
Correct.
you got to keep the profit and spend it on sort of treats for yourself, candy or
Correct.
whatever it is that you wanted to for yourself.
Yes, Kit Kats. We used to buy Kit Kats. We would be so happy when we were sold, and we would make profit, and we would go buy one Kit Kat bar. That was happiness. Yes.
So how much work would you have to do to buy one Kit Kat bar? Like, what would you give us an example of what you'd have to sell, or how much you'd have to make in order to get one Kit Kat?
It would have to be a full day work. I'm just trying to think about, you know, the profits that were made then, but it would have to be a full day's work for me and my brothers in order for us to, you know, get the Kit Kat bars. So, yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, but it was well worth it. The payoff in the end was well worth it, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly, yes.
And Tahani, so take me through your journey of coming to Canada. So what did you do when you first got here? How did you get by financially? So talk about your story from, you know, how you got into Canada and sort of your first few years, how that all sort of transpired, and how did you get by financially, that sort of stuff.
Yes. So I guess since my dad knew I was very talented at school, and he knew he could not really give me the education that maybe I needed to while I was in Jordan. One day I was just coming home from school, and then I'm being greeted by my family and my aunts and uncles, and they're all kissing me and hugging me. I'm like, what's happening? What's going on? And that's when they told me, you just got married. There was a pause. I could not hear anything but stillness.
How old were you again?
I was only 15 years old.
At 15, and they just informed you that you were now getting
married me off, yes. They just informed me that I got married to somebody that I don't know or ever met. And that was dramatic enough. And then to add to it is like, oh, you're going to go to Canada. And at the time, again, I did not even know where Canada is or anything about Canada or English or the English language or any of that stuff. And my dowry practically was only $2. So it was, yeah. So that's how it was. So it was a huge shift. It's like a shift that I did not even ask for. It's like things change that are out of our control. And this was one of it, is that I did not even ask for it. It was made by my parents for me. I did not make that.
Wow, that's crazy. So talk a little bit more about, so now you're going to get married. So did the marriage happen in Jordan, or did you come to Canada and get married? Sort of.
So yes, we had a little party in Jordan, and then I came to Canada. It was so difficult to come to Canada, but we still had a party also in Canada. And yeah, at 15, I had to obviously, you know, learn a new language, learn a new, like, you know, culture, being in a different culture. I remember the first time walking down the aisles of my school. I wanted to go to the bathroom, and I did not even know what to say or how to say I want to go to the bathroom. And I just remember I'm going like this to the teacher. I gotta go, like, you know, like almost like the sign language, you know. And then they knew right away, and then they had to tell me where to go. But there was a huge differences, John. Like I saw, it's a cultural shock for a Canadian to go to Jordan, or if for a Jordanian to come to Canada. And to top that, it was also shocked to be, you know, at my age, being married and having the responsibility of having to, you know, to take care of my husband, and to take care of my new home, and to take care of my mother-in-law, father-in-law.
Yeah.
Plus, on top of that, my dad told me that we're sending you to Canada so that you're able to make it and you're able to help us back home here in the refugee camp. So if you were to take like a second and think about the responsibility, the huge responsibility I had on my shoulders at that age.
That's crazy. So, so you were going to, when you were in Canada, you were married, going to school, and looking after a household at the same time. So,
and having a part-time job as well at a convenience store.
That was the convenience store owned by your husband's family?
At the time, not.
No.
At the time, not.
So was your husband Jordanian and he was living in Canada? Okay.
Yes, correct.
Sort of just trying to get some of the backstory here. So.
Yes, that's okay. You can keep asking, yes.
So when you first got there, you're 15, being taken care of by your husband at the time and his family, obviously having to contribute. How long did it take you to, one, learn the language? And, you know, because if you're working part-time, you're probably just stocking shelves or working in a store. But how long did it actually take you to learn the language in Canada, you know, well enough that you could communicate effectively?
So what happened is when my dad told me, I cried to my dad and I said, please, Dad, don't marry me. Please, Dad, don't send me to Canada. He said to me, I'm doing this because of you, because I know you went to school, and I've already said to your husband-to-be that he will promise me that you will go to school and he will keep you in school for as long as you want. Yeah. So when I went to Canada, even though they made that promise, my mother-in-law, father-in-law, and my ex-husband, they made that promise to my dad. When I came to Canada, they said, oh, okay, you know, you could try. Let's see where it's going to go. Mm-hmm. So when I went to school, even though I did not speak any English or anything like that, by 3 years, I mean, I picked it up really good. Maybe not necessarily speaking very, very well, but writing and understanding very, very well. And I graduated from high school with all like A's, as in marks.
Excellent.
And that's when I ended up, going to college. And culturally, I'm supposed to have a kid right away, but I did not want to have a kid at age 15. So I again begged and I negotiated and I asked if I could go to university, and they said, no, university is not even an option for you because you have to have kids. So then I ended up going to college, and I went for a 3-year course at Conestoga College here in this area. And I graduated as well with an honors, on an honors roll. So
excellent.
It was just a wonderful journey. I wanted business, and I knew that that's what I wanted from day one, even though my family want me to be a nurse. They said, you're very compassionate, you're very caring, you got to get into nursing. And I'm like, nope, I want business. I knew that business is the way for me. So
can you share with us some of the challenges that you went through? I mean, you've been in Canada, you've gone to school, went to college, graduated with top honors, top marks. Share with us some of the challenges that you went through in your personal life here in Canada, and sort of how did you overcome those challenges early on before you actually started into your true entrepreneurial career. So can you just share some of the challenges that you had?
Some of the challenges were like, having to balance house life, having a kid and studying. And not only studying, you have to remember, then there was no Google. It was the Webster dictionary. So I would go home and I would, try and find out what is the meaning of, a word. And it would take me a long time, and I would go word by word by word. And even when I'm doing math, it's like I didn't know what the plus sign is, what the minus sign is called. And I would have to do, so it's like taking all that extra time to learn the language while I'm studying my class, while I'm actually working a part-time job, while I'm taking care of the house. And then the last year I had a baby, and I had to take care of my baby as well. So it's been extremely, it's so much, to handle, and so much, to do. And everybody around me did not want me to do this. And that's the crazy thing, is that they all were waiting for me to fail. They were all waiting for me to give up, but I would not, because I've always loved education. I've always believed in learning because I believed if I have education and I keep learning, then I will grow. And if I grow, I'll never stay the same. And that's one of the lessons that I've learned early on in my entrepreneurial, world.
Yeah. So when is it that you had your first child? So when is it that you actually sort of went head first? How much longer before you had gone head first into being a true entrepreneur? So were you still married at the time? Sort of, what was the transition from being a mom, being a housewife? You had just finished college. What was the transition between then and you actually becoming a realtor and really starting down that path?
Okay. So what happened is right after my college, I had my baby girl, and then, my son. 2 years later, I've had my son. But meanwhile, my ex-husband and his brothers were opening a convenience store, and they thought it was going to be extremely hard to open a convenience store in the location that they did, and very unlikely it's not going to succeed. I told them I will make it very successful. I took it on, and within a year, it was very, very successful. While I was doing that, and they were being shocked of how well I'm doing, and they were thinking of maybe actually opening another store for me, my brother came up to me and says, Tahani, I'm thinking about selling few toys in a flea market. I don't know, I'm sure people in North America know what a flea market is. And I said, okay, great, but why a flea market? Why not have you a store? I'm always thinking bigger. I'm always thinking, more ideas. And he's like, but I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if the bank will give me money. I don't know if I can find a store to put these toys in. I don't know if people will give me, a credit. You know how they give you like products and you pay like in 30, 90, 60 days?
Yes.
And I'm like, let me handle that. And that's when I went on. We opened, a few months later, I opened a dollar store for him. That was when the first, the dollar store, it was the craze of the dollar store, early 1990s.
Yes.
And within 1 year, that dollar store, we started with a loan of $20,000. Within 1 year, we had over $180,000 worth of inventory, plus a 2,000, square foot, dollar store, one of the busiest in the area I'm in, one of the busiest stores in the area I was in. And from there was a real estate office across the road.
Okay.
And the manager of that office would come to the store to get cigarettes and gum and water. And then he would see me interact with people. And then he kept saying, Tahani, I think you should get into real estate. And I'm like, but I don't know anything about real estate. And he's like, oh, I think you would be phenomenal. I could actually help you, with your skills and with your people's skills, you would be phenomenal. And I'm like, finally, I said, okay. And that's when I got into the real estate business.
Excellent. Tahani, can you share with us how you got started on your path from where you are for your real estate path? So the gentleman, he convinced you to get involved in the real estate. So you had grown a couple of successful stores, a dollar store and your husband's convenience store. So once you started into the real estate game, sort of what challenges did you have to overcome into getting into that as a realtor? And then let's talk about transitioning from just being a realtor to owning your own brokerage, becoming a land developer, becoming an investor. So let's talk about sort of that segment of your life.
Well, what happened is when I got into the real estate industry as a realtor, actually by then I did not even know how to sell a house. I've never bought a house. I've never sold a house. It was always my ex-husband saying, go sign the papers at the lawyer's office. And I did not know anything else other than that. So that was a challenge because I've never actually gone through the process itself. The other challenge was I felt that I was in an area where it was mostly white people, I should say, and hardly any foreigners. So it was difficult to also get into that area. And I remember John talking about struggles. Mm-hmm. Somebody told me once that, you know what, Tahani, you should actually change your name from a Tahani to Tina. What is that noise? Do you hear the noise, John?
Sorry, what was it?
Do you hear the noise or not? Just only me, I hear the noise.
No, I don't hear any noise. No, sorry.
Okay. So the gentleman goes to me, in order for you to really break into this industry and be successful, you have to change your name from a Tahani to Atina.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, but even if I do, I know that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I said to him, but even if I change it to Atina, when they meet me, they're going to see that I look like a Tahani. And with my accent, it is a Tahani. So it's like I can't really fool them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to change who I am. And another thing too that I had, even though the foreigners or the white people did not want to really accept that I am actually of a different nationality with an accent and all of that, but also my own family and my own community did not want to support me because they thought she's a woman and how is she gonna, like the men did not want to deal with a woman. The men did not, like they thought like, I don't know if she can actually, help us, when it comes to these big decisions, and that is owning a property and all of that. So it was a lot of struggles on both sides. But I kept at it. It took me 6 months, John, until I got my first deal. 6 months of every single day sitting, cold calling, door knocking, and doing something until I got my first deal. And I can't even imagine what my life would be if I would have gave up.
No, exactly. That definitely the perseverance, the consistent persistence definitely paid off. So your first deal, is it you picked up a home to sell, or you picked up a client to help them buy a home? Okay, so
no, I actually sold their house. I was door knocking, and finally the lady said, "Yes, come on in," and she really liked me, and I actually sold it, and that was the happiest moment. That gave me confidence.
Yeah.
And from there on, I knew that door knocking is way better than cold calling, because cold calling people did not want to be interrupted. They did not like to talk to me because they had my accent. But when they saw me, it was a different kind of, reaction I would get from them.
So
the thing that I've learned from that, John, is that if you're doing your business one way and it does not work, try a different way, because maybe you will find a different way that's going to work better for you, and then you'll succeed at it, better. Don't just keep doing something that does not work.
Yeah, doing the same thing over and over without getting any results is insanity. That's sort of what they
Exactly.
say, right? So
Exactly.
within 6 months, you got your first home. So how long after that did you get your next one? And were they starting to come more regular?
Away. Yes, right away almost. And then I'm starting, to get more houses. But then I would door knock a lot, and then I would get a bunch of houses to sell. And then after I sell them, then my business goes down, and then I would have to go door knock again to get more houses. And then when I get them, my business goes up, and then my business. So there was this cycle of up and down,
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way, than just only this. And even though I enjoyed it, but I did not love it. I thought, it's nice selling and everything, but I did not love it until one day I had my brother's house up for sale, and it was a semi, and I got an offer, and the offer was from a real estate investor, and it has, that lease option. It had viewing few more times. It had, there's few things that, that working with real estate investors, we do our offers a little bit different than selling traditional houses.
Yes.
And that's when the lady told me, I hate working with real estate investors. They only look at the numbers. They're only, and then I'm like, real estate investors? That sounds very neat. I actually want more of those people.
Yeah.
And that's when the light bulb went on, and that's when I started looking for more real estate investors. And that's when I fell in love with the business, because it's all about being in business. It's all about the numbers. It's black and white. And that's when my business went exploded.
So how did you transition from, dealing with the average mom and pop or the average homeowner or buyer? How did you start to attract the investor clientele? Were you going to networking meetings, or what was your play to attract more of them to work with them on a regular, consistent basis?
Yes, it was actually all of that. It was, I went through a divorce around that time as well in 2002. And I started actually going, because I was left with 2 kids to raise. I was very, very focused at the time to do whatever it takes to make this work.
Okay.
And I actually at the time went, and I didn't think I actually could even, because after leaving my ex, I didn't have any money. I didn't think I was going to actually make it. I was really down. It was really tough, time. And I remember actually seeing the manager of a bank close to us, and God bless his soul. He said, Tahani, let me get you a mortgage, and then maybe you can get yourself a semi. And put your kids in there instead of in an apartment.
Okay.
And I'm like, but I'm not good. I don't think I can actually, make the payments. And I would be crying. Anyways, he ended up getting me a mortgage. And at the time, John, you could buy a house with no money down, if you recall those times, you know? So that was lucky timing, perfect timing. And then I started working with real estate investors. I was a hustler. I became such a focused hustler. That's what your audience should know, is that if you need something, you got to go after it. Yeah. And then I would go and tell everybody around me, look, I would like to, sell your house or buy you a house, but just know by me helping you, you're going to help me and help my kids. And then I attached the sale to something greater than just only the commission, and that is taking care of my kids. Yeah. And people connected with that, John.
Yeah, you got a much bigger why, and people can connect to your why better than they can connect to you just making money.
Exactly. And that's when people start saying, okay, you know what, let's do this. And one of those people was a previous friend of mine that I went to high school with, that I remember, another foreigner. And he says, I wanted to buy a house and an investment house, and this is what I'm looking for. And I said, whatever you're looking for, tell me, I'll go get it for you. And I did get it for him. And I remember him selling it after 3 months, making $48,000. And that's another bulb went on. Like, oh my God, this can be amazing. And I went head on looking for real estate investors, networking, actually mostly networking, because I knew for me, face-to-face is my strength. So it's mostly networking. And that's when, things start coming my way.
So when did you buy your first investment property? So the light bulb went on when the guy made 40-some thousand in 3 months. So how long after that did you actually think to yourself, well, hey, I should not only be looking for the investors, but I should become an investor myself?
2005. So it took, about 3 years or so. And what happened is I was selling, there was a small little development in the area I was selling. And the builder had his wife selling, and she had the site for about a whole year, and she was not selling any houses. And I would come back and I would go to him, George, it's me. My name is written on this, development. I got to sell it for you. And George would say, but my wife is a realtor. I can't give you the business. I have to give it to my wife. And I would go and I'd say, George, I would make you and your wife, happy people. Just let me sell the thing. And I would go and I would bring an offer and I would give to him. And then I would go back again and bring him another offer. Then finally he says, take it. And in 3 months, actually a little less than 3 months, about 2.5 months, I was able to sell about 49 houses for him.
Wow. That's some serious commission going on. 49 houses in about 3-4 months. Yeah.
Of course. Yes. And part of that is I told him I also want for me to keep a couple of houses until the, end of the development. And that's how my real estate investing, started. And that's how after, buying that semi, do you remember the semi?
Yeah.
4.5 years later, I paid it all off and I had 9 other houses.
Excellent. So when did you transition from just buying single family homes or semi-detached homes into becoming a land developer?
Actually, in 2009, I started my land development and I needed some cash because, as you're aware and most of your audience know, is that you need large sums of money to do development.
Yes.
So that's when I started selling some of my, houses or investments so that I can cash in and then start. And I started with a small piece of land and I built 6 townhouses on it.
Okay.
And that was, it was a crazy experience and I learned a lot from it. And And then again, you know what, you do the same thing, repeat it again and again, to the point where right now I'm working on a high-rise building with 89 units.
Wow. So when did you transition from just doing the real estate or just being a broker and doing the land development? When did you transition into the education component? Teaching people how to do this stuff.
I didn't transition. Yeah, I did not. I should say that I was still doing real estate, and I still had my brokerage and my land development. Yeah, while I was teaching. And how about that came is Wiley and Sons, one of the largest business, publishers in North America. They came to me. They approached me to write a book for real estate investors on the importance of working with a realtor.
Okay.
And building a team. And I said, okay. And that's when my book came out called Real Estate Riches, a money-making game plan for the Canadian investor. And that book did so well, and it became an Amazon bestseller. Nice. But what happened is I was being featured because of that book in a magazine that's only geared towards realtors, just only for realtors. And when that article came out, realtors from all across Canada start sending me emails, tweeting me, asking me questions. How do I do what I do? How do I work with real estate investors? Because there is no training for real estate investors in, our industry, specifically for, investors. And that's when, again, I came out for training for realtors. So the training for investors and the training for realtors came about as I was doing. What I was teaching is what I was passing on to my clients.
Excellent. So you're just basically taking exactly what you've done successfully over a period of time, leveraging your expertise and being able to teach it to other people.
Correct.
Still while you're still in the game, still making money through the brokerage, still doing land development, and then adding on an additional source by giving back to and helping out other people who are interested in doing the exact same thing.
Exactly. It's really for the impact. It's about paying it forward. I did not need the money from the training, but I was paying it forward so that people can learn what I've learned, and then they can take it and apply it and transform their business. Therefore, they would transform their life.
Exactly. So what's next for Tahani? So, you've been successful in so many different things over the past years. What do you feel is your true purpose or calling in this world? So what do you want to share with others? So, talk about Tahani's future. Tell us about that story.
My future, what I'm so excited about. I mean, there's a lot to be thankful and excited about in my life, but the one that's really right now consuming most of my time is my new training for actually women entrepreneurs. And I wanted to help women to really step up, elevate, take responsibility of their life, and again, transform their lives as I have transformed mine, with no excuses of your background, of you having kids or no kids, if you having a husband or no husband, or whatever it is. If you really have it in your mind, we need to manifest it in this world, and then I'll share with them exactly what I've been doing as well to build few businesses to a 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses in my personal life.
Yeah, so you managed to do it all, balancing, a family life, 2 kids. You went to school. You're working a couple different jobs, opened a couple different stores. You still, you took your real estate license. You just were consistent on a persistent basis. You persevered through that. So there's really no excuse why anybody can't do a similar thing. You were new to the country. You had to learn the language. So for a lot of people, they just come up with excuses as to why they can't do it, when there is no excuse as to why they can't. It's just in their mind. It's their mindset. They just think that they can't do it, but in reality, if they are actually
it's fear. They're afraid of something. Yes, exactly. And we need to dig deep into why they're afraid of whatever they're afraid of.
Excellent. So Tahani, do you have any closing remarks that you'd like to give to the audience, to the people watching? Anything that you'd like to say?
I truly believe anyone wants to attain, personal growth and business growth and make more money and create more wealth, because wealth is not just only money, it's also health is wealth,
That's right.
having a great family is wealth, having amazing friends is wealth. So if anybody wants to create that, I believe it's absolutely attainable. It's just that you need to focus, put your heart and soul into it, and just go with all of your heart into what you want to do. So that's it can be done.
Excellent. Well, that's all the time that I have for you today, Tahani. I want to personally thank you for being on the show and sharing your journey with us. It was great seeing you again. I know it's been too long since we got to catch up. So if you do have questions, just leave them in Facebook comments. If we're not live, then either myself or Tahani will follow up with you on whatever questions that you do have. Tahani, it's been great having you on the show, and I look forward to catching up with you again real soon. So, Tahani, thank you, and for everyone else, just stick with me.
Thank you.
Just stick with me for a minute, and I will be right back after this quick transition. All right, you guys, thanks again for joining me on today's entrepreneurial journey with Tahani. Aburaneh. Tahani is a true inspiration to everyone, not just for women. She's a very sharp business person, but also has a heart of gold, and she's so giving of herself and has a willingness to share her inspirational message to others. As Napoleon Hill once said, every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Tahani is living proof of this. The kinds of challenges, struggles, and adversities she has overcome to turn around and be as successful as she is a testament of her sheer will and her sheer determination. Now, in today's society, there's so much entitlement in our country, continent, and in our continent from people who are born here. For many of them, they think the government or the country owes them something, and they deserve more just because they were born in this country or in this continent. When the real harsh reality is nobody owes you anything because you were born here in Canada or the US. And the sooner people realize this, the better off our society will be. For entrepreneurs of the world, the immigrants who come here with nothing and put in their time, the effort, and do the work, we know this already. We're the ones who realize that if we want our lives or our situation to change, it's really up to us to make that happen. And as for us true entrepreneurs, we know that effort only fully realizes its reward after a person refuses to quit. So just like Tahani talked about refusing to give up when she was cold calling and knocking on doors, she refused to quit. So she definitely received the rewards after that. And when your desires are strong enough, you'll appear to possess superhuman powers to achieve what it is you want in your life. So with those quotes from Napoleon Hill, I just want to thank you for watching today's show and hope you'll join me tomorrow for another great hour when we talk to an entrepreneur, expert, speaker, author about their business and help them accelerate their authority. So until tomorrow, this is John A. McKay wishing you an amazing day, and remember, the space you occupy and the authority you exercise may be measured by mathematical exactness by the service you render. So have yourself an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's show.